have a lot of government overreach going on, especially in this state and with this unelected governor. And my intro was going to be a little bit lengthier, but apparently most of us already know most of the issues that are going on. But we know that the fastest way to get the people back to work is to take the shackles off of the business people, so they can have the freedom to grow, because that's where our real economic challenges are. The shackles on businesses are keeping the businesses small. The after all the stuff that was going on. Anyway, I'm going to make it short because I'm pretty frustrated with the show, this turnout. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you Bruce Cuff, the next governor of Oregon.
Well, thanks for coming out tonight. I know it's a nice day, so I've got a deal I've been working on here, and I'm going to read it to you in a little bit. But basically, Oregon is a sovereign state. Okay, our current governor and the last 30 years governors, they haven't acted like Oregon's a sovereign state. They've acted like we're just an extension. The governor's just an extension of whatever the feds want to do to us. We just let them do to us. So it's time we had a governor who acts like it, that we're a sovereign state. Our patriot freedom-fighting forefathers left us a representative republic, not a democracy. So the current federal government, with its ever-expanding influence in our lives, bears little resemblance to the constitutionally limited government that was established by our Constitution. So basically, we need to force the federal government out of our lives and back into its limited purpose. So as governor, I will extend state sovereignty, exert state sovereignty, and begin that process. So how do we do that? Well, here's a few of the federal, and there's more, but we're going to remove federal control over our businesses and our citizens in the state of Oregon. You think about how many different federal agencies you deal with: IRS, OSHA, EPA, FBI, BLM, U.S. Forest Service, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, U.S. Park Service, U.S. Agriculture, Department of Education. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. But these are a lot of these are unconstitutional departments. You know, Department of Education. The state of Oregon is in charge of their own education, not the feds. There's nothing in our Constitution that allows them to do that. So all these agencies will have to coordinate with 2 layers of government before they are allowed access to Oregon businesses and citizens. And those 2 layers are the governor. If the IRS or anybody, any federal agency has something that they want to take to against the business or against the citizen, they're going to have to go through the governor's office first. If they don't, we're going to have 36 constitutional sheriffs that whoever that agent is that isn't recognizing our sovereignty is going to go to jail and then be escorted out of Oregon. And if they're Oregonian living here working for the federal government, they got to make up their mind if they're going to act like a good Oregonian, or are they going to go have to find another state to live in, because we're not going to put up with it here. Yeah. And the other thing is the county sheriff. We have 36 county sheriffs that are constitutional sheriffs that say to the BLM or say to the Forest Service or say to these guys, hey, you're not exercising police powers in my county, period. Right? If you got a problem with one of my citizens, then you come to me first, and I'll look it over, and if I think it's legitimate, I'll go with you, and we'll go out and serve the warrant or whatever it is. But if it's not going to happen. So right now, the federal government currently manages 53% of Oregon, and it's growing. You hear people use the word public lands, that we have public lands in Oregon. The legal definition of public lands is public lands are lands that don't have any encumbrances on them, that you can go out there and set up your 160-acre homestead, and you can start homestead. That's public lands. We don't have public lands in Oregon. We have lands that are owned by the state that should have been transferred to the state at statehood. So,
Somebody has a birthday apparently.
wait, get ready, we're gonna sing.
No, that's their singing.
That's what
That's
they're
it?
saying.
Oh, well, we can't join in there. Happy birthday! But we're gonna assert state sovereignty over this land. I expect every county sheriff in Oregon to visit every federal agency within their jurisdiction and explain to them that their right to operate within his county has been revoked by the governor and by the sheriff. So you look at me and you go, how can you do that? Because I'm the governor, and this is a sovereign state, that's why. And I got other guys running against me, they don't understand this. You know why people are angry? Because the federal government has overstepped their bounds, and they're doing things illegally to us.
Yes.
And until we get up and we say no more, and we have a governor that says no more, we're never gonna change this state. Schools. The Department of Education is unconstitutional. They have brought us failed policies and ideas over and over again. The latest one is Common Core, that they're trying to force on our school system.
Dumb down our children.
And as governor, I'm head of the Oregon school system. We're gonna change the school system. And, we're gonna direct all schools to cease any federal directives. In Oregon, we're gonna put Oregon parents and teachers back in control of education. So here's one of the ideas that I have for education is, right now, we've got teachers leaving the system because there's basically one narrative in the school system, and it's an immoral narrative that teachers have to put up with. They can't talk about morality. I mean, it's pushing an agenda, and if they disagree with that agenda, they can't really do anything about it. So the only way I can see to fix it is let's have our public teachers who want to come out of that system, set up some private companies, right? And as parents, we're going to give parents a 70% voucher. It's $10,000 to educate a kid in Oregon right now. If we give parents a voucher for $7,000 and we let them decide where their children's going to go, so if we had a K through 8 school, that's 9 teachers. They could share administrative duties. That's $1.4 million for 200 kids to go to that school. That's 22 kids a classroom. That's $1.4 million. And in that classroom, they could, you could pay the teacher $60 grand a year. Here's why teachers want to come out of this system. They're looking at the PERS system. There's $20 billion hole in the PERS system. And they're going, I'm not going to get my retirement anyway. Why am I putting up with all this junk? You know, and I've talked to teachers, and teachers have said, I'm only there for the kids, and I have to do some things that I don't like to do, and I wish it was in a better way. So here's the narrative out in the, well, I want to whack that sir. Here's the narrative out there right now. See, here's what's going on. We just raised minimum wage, right? That's going to cost big time businesses. The other thing that we got in Oregon is we're charging $1 billion every 2 years. That's what we're charging businesses, okay? The narrative out there right now is schools are failing because businesses aren't paying their fair share. And there's a company out there that's selling this garbage, right? And so what I told the newspaper from Ben, I said, how about this? How about schools are failing because Oregon Education Association won't turn loose of their monopoly and let us change the school system? That's why schools are failing. It doesn't have anything to do with business. There's enough money in that system to teach the kids. But they want to raise business taxes from $1 billion every 2 years. They want to increase it 250% to go to $3.5 billion in 2 years. So what they have planned is a 2.5% gross receipts tax. That's what they passed Measure 66 and 67 a while ago. Do you know what a gross receipts tax is? It's a backdoor sales tax. but you don't know how much you're paying. And it makes all of our businesses uncompetitive in Oregon. So for instance, if they pass a 2.5% grocery receipts tax, if somebody makes a product and it goes directly to the consumer, there's gonna be a 2.5% tax on that. But what about a product that goes from this company to this company, to this company, to this company, to this company? There could be 15% tax on that by the time you sold it to the consumer. Because every time a grocery receipts tax the gross receipts of every single business in this state by 2.5%. So you don't even know, it's a backdoor sales tax. You don't know, but you know what that's gonna do to businesses? It's gonna kill them.
You're gonna move the
They're gonna go somewhere else. So what we do immediately is we kill the minimum wage deal, right? It's gonna be hard to roll back, but we're just gonna stop it right where it's at. And then we're gonna push to get that $1.5 billion that's already in the system. We're gonna push to get that gone, to give businesses the break. Because here's what I know. If Oregon is a business magnet and we have businesses coming here, okay, and they're providing jobs, the personal income taxes that the workers are gonna pay because they have a job is gonna more than make up for the $1 billion we gave up. Right? Because all we're doing when we charge businesses taxes, Ronald Reagan said this, businesses don't pay taxes, they collect taxes. So when you buy a product, you're paying the tax because they got to charge you enough to cover that $1 billion of tax. But all that does is make them uncompetitive when they're dealing with out-of-state businesses that don't have to pay that tax. So what do we do when we attract businesses? We cut their property taxes, we cut their taxes, their gross receipts taxes or their excise taxes. We give them a break for 5 years and we say, come on in here. Let's just do that all the time. Right? And we just attract businesses and then we put people to work, you know, and the unions don't have to fight with the non-unions. The guys, when they approached me on this, I said, I don't care about union, non-union fight. Let's just get businesses, so many businesses in Oregon that you guys have plenty of work. And you know what the guy said to me? Hey, that works. Right? So, minimum wage. You know how you raise minimum wage in Oregon? You have so many businesses here that you don't have enough workers to go around that businesses have to bid up to hire the workers. Then the minimum wage goes up the right way by economic stimulus, you know, from a market approach rather than, you know, directed them to do it. So, you guys know what they paid in Burger King in eastern Montana when the oil was flowing? They had to pay $18 an hour to hire somebody at Burger King. Seriously, because all the workers were going to the oil fields. Right? So if we do that in Oregon, it's the same thing. When I'm talking to somebody that's concerned that, you know, thinking this minimum wage is going to be a great deal, and there's 3 people working there, I'll go, you're each making $10 an hour, right? Yeah. But when it goes to $15 an hour, one of you is losing your job. Why? Well, because they can't afford to pay all of you.
Yeah.
But, you know, but if we do it this way, if we stimulate the economy in Oregon, we're gonna get that back. So the last piece that to get local control back in our communities, right now the way they do the budget is the general fund budget's made up of personal income taxes, this business tax, lottery money, alcohol taxes, cigarette taxes, all that flows into the general fund. That's what they fight over every year to fund the schools with. The schools are funded by the property taxes that goes to the counties and the schools, and then the state, for the most part, does it this way. Okay, and about half of that general fund they fight over it, and then it goes to the county or goes to the school district. What I want to do is I want to remove the state from that by just saying 50% of the money that comes into the general fund goes directly to the counties. No strings attached. The counties use it to fund infrastructure. They use it to fund public safety. They use it to fund schools. Right? And then as we get back into the woods, then some of that money is going to flow. And have the counties maintain the state lands, some of that money is going to flow. Here's the nice thing about Oregon. You elect a Republican governor, you elect a Republican Secretary of State, you elect a Republican treasurer. You know what those three people are? What are they? You're shaking your head yes. What are they? They're the land board. They're the land board in Oregon. They make all decisions based on what happens on state lands. So guess what? We start logging, we start mining, we start doing all the things that we used to do. Okay? And so everybody goes, well, what about the Endangered Species Act, or this act, or that act? And these acts that they're using on the farmers that Congress has passed, you know what? There's a little clause in every single one of these acts that at the very bottom that says, this act does not affect rights already established. These ranchers have grazing rights, water rights, that go predate every one of these acts. And the federal government and the BLM, they act like this new act is applicable to that rancher. Wrong. It's not. Absolutely not. The problem is the ranchers don't have enough money to go to court to fight it, so they just cave in, right? Because they're afraid. When I was in Burns, there was 40 people at the Glory Days Pizza. Chris Briles was there. He's the fire chief that caught the two FBI guys messing around and went to Grasty, and Grasty told him to get out of his office, and he resigned. Well, Chris is running a safety committee over there. He's trying to force the government to do the right thing.
Yep.
So here's what Chris said at the end of the presentation. He goes, every one of these ranchers want to join us, but they're afraid of losing their livelihood.
Yep.
You know what? No one should be afraid of the federal government. Nobody.
That's right.
Right? And as governor, I'm going to make sure they're afraid of you.
That's the way.
Okay? Because you're going to hire me.
Yep.
That's right.
Okay? And I know who I work for. You know where I get my money from? Most of it from my mother. But I've gotten checks. I showed my wife a check. Got this check from a lady named Sherry Chalmers. Said, Mr. Cuff, we're going to support you every single month that you're running for office. Here's my son's address. Here's what he does for a living. Here's my daughter's address. Here's what she lives in. Here's my address. I'm terminally ill. God bless you. She sent me a $15 check. That's where I get my money from.
That's
Okay?
awesome.
So that $15 to my wife and I, that was the widow's mite that we're not going to let down. So you know, you got other guys in this race, they're taking money from timber companies who do not want to open the forests up. Why? Because they have a supply of land and trees, and the forest, the state forests, are competition. They sing hallelujah every time it burns. Is that the kind of people we want running Oregon?
No.
Alan Alley was given $40,000 from Stinson Lumber. Go online and look at it. He's got money coming from out of state. Okay, so we got rich guys in this race that I have to fight against, and they're treating me like the minor candidate. And I've been all over Eastern Oregon, and if I got guys like you backing me, there's no way they're going to beat me. Because nobody has as much passion as I do about Oregon, because you know what? I'm the only one in this race that was born here.
Yeah.
That's
Okay, I'm an Oregonian. I've been Oregonian all my life, and I've been telling people for the last 10 years, a conservative can win in Oregon. Why this
Yes.
year? Why this year?
Because
2 years
we've had
ago,
enough.
Kitzhofer resigned, right? So you know what happened this year? This is the first time the governor's race is ever on a presidential election. And you got this conservative wave coming across this country like you wouldn't believe, right? The establishment can't even win. George Bush got $10 million and he wasn't able to get 5% of the vote. Why? Because people like you have had it with the Republican Party. Okay? So here's what I am. I'm a Christian, constitutional, conservative Republican. What's that mean? I'm a big C, big C, big C, little r. Why am I little r? Because the Republican Party, the establishment, I wouldn't give them a dime. I wouldn't give them the time of day, right? Because they've sold us out. You watch it happen when Gingrich got
Yes.
the House back and they
Yes.
sold us out. I'm still mad about that, and that was 20-some years ago. So, as governor, we're going to make some changes to the state.
Yeah.
And we can do it, but I need your help. My wife's going to pass out some stuff. It's got On there's got 4 strategies for local control, and it has my resume on who I am and where I came from. I'd like you guys to have it. And I've got bumper stickers, I've got signs, I've got about 30 signs in my car. I'd like my car to be empty, because I got 100 more waiting for me to put together tomorrow. And I've got, some giving envelopes if you guys wanna give. But yeah, I made the mistake of letting somebody shove money in my pocket, and there was 93 bucks I couldn't account for in the Secretary of State's office. I had to give it to my church. I had to give it to a charitable organization that can accept anonymous donations, because I cannot.
Okay.
I cannot accept them. I tried to, I thought I could, I put it in there, and the guy calls me up and goes, hey, you gotta know exactly who that came from, and every single penny, you know? And, because under 100 bucks, it just posts as miscellaneous under 100 bucks, but I still have to account for every single dollar and who it came from, and I gotta have address, I gotta have the occupation, and I gotta have the employer's name and, you know, city and state.
Is that the IRS rules?
No, that's Oregon, and the reason is because we're a very open system. If you guys wanna see where the money's coming from, just go online and put in Oregon, governor's race, right, Republican, and then it'll spit out, you know, or you can put in a candidate, it'll spit out, and you can print out exactly where all their money came from.
Problem is, we do not have independent elections. We have elections that are party elections.
That's because this is a primary election, the parties are picking their candidates for the election.
I know, and that's a problem.
No, it's not a problem. That's what a primary is for.
I
If
understand.
you don't do that, then you have 2 general elections. Why would you do that?
No, what you have to have is a completely wide open
No, you
race.
don't. That's wrong. I disagree with that. And the reason I do is because if I'm a Republican and I'm voting, and I'm picking a Republican for my party, that's what the primary election's for. Democrats pick who they wanna run, Republicans pick who they wanna run, Independents pick who they wanna run, Libertarians pick who they wanna run. You have a primary, everybody picks the candidate they wanna run, and then you have a general election between all those folks, and you pick.
Well,
The
I'm
whole
not-
people pick.
I'm not a member of any party.
Well, then you're not gonna vote.
Which
Not
is
in-
wrong.
not
You
in-
shouldn't have to pick an
Why,
affiliation.
So,
Why?
but you don't, let me explain real quickly why in a state like Oregon, if this was an open primary, we could conceivably end up with 2 Democrats on the ticket at the time, is why.
that,
But so,
it should be up to the people, not up to
It
the
is up to
party.
the people, but you
Yes.
gotta be
This is how it
you
is.
gotta be at the table. If you wanna pick the Republican, then you need to be a Republican.
The table is reserved for party members.
No, you can,
Party,
yes.
yeah, but you're not,
Our
but
table.
you can register as a Republican if you wanna
no,
vote
I
that way.
understand that.
Right.
I'm not disagreeing with
Okay.
what you're saying. What I'm disagreeing with is the disenfranchisement of everyone who does not become a member of the club. Whether it's the Democrat.
How are they disenfranchised, sir?
Well, I'll give you an
Okay.
idea. When I was growing up in elementary school, I went to school with the Republican representative's children. But I backed a Democrat. Why? Because he was the best man,
Okay,
okay? Now, later on in life, I realized I had a candidate. I had a man who was a statesman, stuck by the Constitution all the time. And I watched his own party submarine him. Not once, twice. In 2008 and in 2012. And we know, anybody that can breathe knows that the best man this year for president was the senator from Kentucky. You really believe that he only got 5% of the vote? I don't. Because unlike someone who's in a party, I go all over. I have friends
But-
and I have
but do
connections.
we not have 2 elections
I
though?
think the
No, no,
argument,
no,
Fred,
but I'm not,
Fred,
what I'm saying
Fred,
is,
I understand what you're saying,
the
but
argument,
They're-
I just don't agree with it.
the argument is not getting us anywhere. Let's go
That's
on.
not. Because you have 2 elections. You have a primary election and then you have a general election.
I would vote for you if you didn't have a party. We'll have a party after you're governor.
Well, here, why don't you take a registration card, register as a Republican, so you can vote for me in the primary, because I gotta get by 4 guys.
And then,
Okay.
Fred, then you can change
And
that.
then you can change it whatever party, you can
Okay.
change your party affiliation as many times as you want.
I'm not saying, I'm not saying that I would not do that.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, I should not have to.
So,
There should be 50 parties, 60 parties, 100 parties, and none of them should control who gets on the ticket. That's what. If
well,
there-
they don't control it. They don't control it. They control.
How many current Republican candidates are there? Okay? And
For governor.
how many do you think that I would vote for? You're right.
Hopefully it's me.
So, but the
After
idea-
all the
But
time.
the idea of the primary system and the delegate system with president is that we don't really pick. They pick, the party picks.
Fred,
That's a
but,
discussion
but,
for another.
but,
Yeah, that's
what I've mentioned, sorry for interrupting.
Go ahead.
What I've mentioned before, we've lost control of what's going on in Washington. And we got to register and
We lost
vote
control of
and get
Salem, too.
strong conservative leadership in state, in our cities, in our counties, in our precincts, and in our state. We have to work on the base, right? That's why I'm backing.
How long have I
Working
been
on the
saying
base.
exactly what Bruce said tonight? Start at the local level. Get
Right.
your
That's
county,
It's huge.
get your county
So-
sheriff on board.
Yeah.
This man will work with them.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anyone come out and say what he has about working with the county sheriffs to keep.
I wanna
the federal
get all the
government
power back to the county. As a realtor, right, LCDC runs the state from the top, right? The LCDC, there's a 7-member board that runs that commission. As governor, I appoint 7 rural-friendly members to that board that push all the decision-making powers out about urban growth boundaries. Urban growth boundaries is now gonna be a decision between the county and the city in that area. State doesn't need to be involved in that. Why would the state need to be involved in that? They don't. So we get that at the county level. What kind of zoning? And soil types and all these things, that's a county decision, right? It shouldn't be run by the state, right? And you guys know who Dave Honeycutt is? Oregonians in Action. They're the guys that brought us Measure 37, where they got the waivers, you know, and they were gonna do with their land what they could do. And then they submarined us and brought us Measure 49 and basically gutted the whole thing. Well, Dave Honeycutt, he's an attorney for Oregonians in Action, and he's helped us, right? Greatly. He said, I got 40 names of rural folks that I can give you, Bruce, to fill those 7 slots. So they're out there. So as governor, right, as soon as I'm elected in November, every single commission that the governor appoints, they're fired. They're gone. Why? Because I got between November and January to vet all new people that have like-minded as far as getting power back to the counties. And I got 2 years, folks, right? I'm running for a 2-year term. That's it. I'm just running for the last 2 years of Kitzhopper's term. That's all I got. And if I can't get it done in 2 years, I won't get elected 2 years later for a 4-year term. And you know what? That's all I get to serve, because you only get elected twice. So that's 6 years. That's what I got, 6 years. So we can do a lot in 6 years. And I don't plan on being a forever governor. I want 6 years to get the state back on track, and then I'll go play with my grandkids.
There you go.
You know? So, and I'll probably still be a realtor, and hopefully my wife still loves me after all that. She's gonna be, look at this right here.
For
This is
six
what a
years,
first
yeah.
lady looks like right here.
For 6
There you
years,
go.
yes, don't press it.
No. So, anyway, hopefully I didn't get too
Bruce?
No.
cranked up. Go ahead, I'll take
Right,
questions.
absolutely.
You know, I want to make a statement that I think if Fred would realize if we could set up Oregon as a template for other states to follow,
Yes.
that would be awesome. That no matter what you think about how it's working, if we
Oh,
could
no,
set
no,
it up,
I-
other states will follow.
I agree with him.
Okay?
I agree with him.
Well, see, I think this year, you're gonna see a lot of governors get elected that are doing just what I'm doing. And that's exerting state control, state sovereignty. Because why? Because the federal government, I went to the Forest Access for All meeting in Baker City. The Forest Service, here's what they do. They bring this plan out, they're gonna shut down the forest, they're gonna take the roads out. They got a plan to basically turn it back into a wilderness area, okay?
Why?
Because they can, right? So anyway, they've got this plan and they bring it out and they have people testify on it. They've had, in Umatilla County, they've had 1,200 testimonies on this plan. And the guy brought the plan out and they had all this testimony, and then the guy was just gonna take the plan that they had testified on it and just bring the plan back out without changing a single word, and just saying, here it is. And you know what the county commissioners in Umatilla County said? If you do that, your Forest Service guys are gonna die, because they're gonna get shot on site. That's how mad people are. He said, if you don't take this plan and spend 60 days on it and look at those testimony and change it, forget it. Because there's a thing called coordination. They cannot do stuff to us anymore. The county commissioners are involved, and other people that are appointed. They have to coordinate with them, and if they don't get an agreement on that plan, it doesn't happen. So that's what they've been doing. They've been pushing this coordination thing to the point where they're trying to stop the Forest Service from doing anything, and they're getting pretty dang good at it. But what you need to do is just get rid of them. And when I was at the meeting yesterday and I gave this speech, they almost emptied my car of signs. They put money in my pocket. They said, go get them, Bruce. Because they realized they could be done with messing with these guys. They wouldn't have to go to any more of these meetings, right? They would get their forest back. They'd get their access back. They wouldn't have to deal with these federal people. You know, and that's what they want.
Turn out a question about the Syrian refugees and the government.
Okay,
bringing in.
yeah, here, I'll tell you a little bit about that. I heard from a reliable source 12 days ago, 6,000 Syrian refugees came into Oregon under the cover of darkness. Okay, and they got dispersed. The Catholic Church is involved in this, and they're dispersing them throughout Oregon. Okay, here's what we know about these folks. 30% of them have TB. 5% of them have diseases we've already eradicated, and my grandchildren and some of your children are not inoculated against those diseases anymore, right? And those people came here, and we've got, and you know, whether they have connections to ISIS or Al Qaeda, they don't know. Here's the thing: the governor of Oregon, what's their job? To protect the people of